Hello there, subjects of the Empire. This is Eye on the Empire, where we review holo transmissions intercepted and decoded by our agents from the Imperial Security Bureau. You may notice that we're not your usual hosts for these reviews. I'm sure there's a very good reason for that. Today's report is on the first 3 episodes of Andor Season 2. Before we get started, here's 2 disclaimers. First disclaimer, this report and all these reports might contain spoilers. Second disclaimer, this reviewer really enjoyed the first season of Andor, even though they didn't like Rogue One. Andor's first season was a big departure from the existing formula. It was more mature, slower paced. There weren't many scenes of forced action or hijinks to entertain those with lower attention spans. There's none of that sense of adventure that we come to normally expect from the Star Wars, which is why I understand why Andor didn't connect with some viewers, but if you stuck with it, the show would grow on you. Will the second season be just as good as the first? Let's find out. I'll cover the bad part first, and that's most of Andor's part in these episodes. We get an action-packed opening of him stealing some prototype TIE fighter. For those who thought the first season was too slow and serious, what Andor gets into here, it's none of that. Some might enjoy this season more because it starts off with more of a bang. There's action, there's adventure. After getting away, he travels to some remote planet to meet his contact, only to find that a different group of freedom fighters that have been stranded on the planet have ended up discovering Andor's contact and killed him. They take Andor prisoner when he arrives. Their plan? Escape the planet using that prototype TIE fighter. The problem? None of them know how to fly it. And there's some sort of internal conflict among the group that quickly leads to them turning blasters on each other. Did I forget to mention that they're a bunch of idiots? Towards the end of their conflict, the 2 fractions of the group decide to settle their differences once and for all with a single duel. Now, what are you expecting here? A quick draw of blasters? Or having them chained at the wrist and both given a knife? Or how about a game of rock, paper, and scissors? Yeah, it was that bad. The whole segment was just a big time waster. They needed a reason to keep Andor away from the other parts of the story, and I'm sure there were studio notes to include more action and add comedy to lighten the mood. What I would have liked to see instead was more about that theft of the TIE fighter. We could have spent time with that technician who was helping Andor steal the TIE. This arc of episodes also features the wedding of Mon Mothma's daughter. It's a big, lavish event, full of tradition. Luthen is there too in his antique dealer's disguise. This segment, we learn that Mon Mothma's friend, who was helping her launder money to the rebellion, is now having money problems of his own. Luthen sees him as a liability and arranges for him to have an accident. At least that's what I think is going on. I watched this on a laptop with the volume on max, but every character was talking in a whisper, making it kind of hard to understand what was being said. The shortest segments in this arc is that of Dedra and Searle. Director Krennic is still alive in this timeline, and he needs some rare mineral deep buried within the surface of the planet Gormon. One problem, stranding it could destroy the planet, and there's a bunch of people living there. He's hired Dedra to find a solution. And what has Searle been doing this time? He's been doing Dedra. They're a couple now. And this fact really pains me. During season 1, Searle became a bit of a stalker around her. She was the symbol of law enforcement that he wanted to be, and he made it his quest to help her capture Andor whether she wanted his help or not. At the end of season 1, when he rescued her and they stared at each other, I screamed, "Please don't make them a couple. Please don't make them a couple." And what did they do? They made them a couple. Their dynamic as a couple, it's amusing, but I still would have preferred that it didn't happen. Our last segment deals with Andor's friends. They're hiding, living like normal people on simple farming plants, waiting for Andor to return. They haven't heard from him. Remember, he's a prisoner of those idiots. Things are getting tense around here as the Imperials are in the area looking for illegal aliens. The Imperial officer leading them takes an interest in Bix and will not take no for an answer. He tries to assault her. She fights back. We might be asking, why does Bix get to be the one that all this bad stuff happens to? Real war and authoritarian regimes are ugly and violent. Those who suffer the worst of it aren't necessarily the soldiers fighting, but the civilians living under it, with women being targeted the most. Some may think that real world violence and turmoil has no place in Star Wars, or should only be implied, with the assumption that Star Wars is escapism and must always be family friendly. Maybe when the original Star Wars movie came out nearly 50 years ago, having the Empire commit its evil just off screen was enough. It had only been around 30 years since World War II. Danger of fascism was still in people's minds. In today's world, we are further removed from that time, and maybe it requires storytellers to be more direct. We need reminders that evil thrives in authoritarianism. A storyteller's job is not just to entertain, but to educate through entertainment. And now, back to the rest of the review. During all this, at the same time, down the road, Brasso has been captured by the Imperials. Andor comes in flying with a TIE fighter, blasting those Imperials, saving everyone, or so we thought. Brasso was killed in the conflict. I guess we knew that some characters were going to die this season, but I wish they could have spent more time with them. This segment here is to show us what life is for people living under the evil of the Empire. In summary, overall, the first 3 episodes were good. They could have been better without Andor's segments with those idiots. What I would have really liked to have seen was that stuff that happened between the last episode of season 1 and the start of this episode. In any case, until the next episode.